Hello there, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another RebelScum.com video. And today we have something very, very special. A couple of our friends over at Jazwares has taken some time to hang out with us and talk Micro Galaxy Squadrons, and maybe even just talk some fun Star Wars fan stuff because we're all fans here. We're all passionate about Star Wars, which is why we're here on RebelScum.com, and which is why these guys, of course, work on the Micro Galaxy Squadron line, and which is also probably why the line itself is as great as it is. And I know as a fan, I love playing with the Micro Galaxy stuff. As awesome as Action Fleet was back in the day, this is that, but way better. That especially, that is a prime example. The old Action Fleet shuttle was just incredibly way too small, and the new Micro one, you guys put in the ramp, the landing gear, the drop down wings, their whole cargo section opens up, there's seats for the Emperor in there. Best shuttle ever, easily best shuttle ever. So I'm joined by Mr. Maxwell Lux and Tim Bungeroth. Did I say that right, Tim?
You got it.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Maxwell is, of course, the brand manager for Micro Galaxy Squadron at Jazwares, and Tim is the copyright director.
That copywriter. Yeah, I'm
Copywriter.
copywriter for action and collectibles,
Wonderful,
especially Star
wonderful.
Wars.
So you guys have had some pretty exciting reveals for May 4th week. We had the shuttle, which you guys showed and demoed at Star Wars Celebration. The Imperial AT-AT also showed and demoed at Star Wars Celebration. But also on May 4th, you guys signed on with some awesome Star Wars celebrities. You had a good friend of ours, Mr. Mike Quinn, and you had the guy who played Carson on his channel.
Yeah, Paulie's
Yeah, thank
great.
you. You guys had Paul on your channel, or rather on Paul's channel, and y'all debuted the Battle of Endor pack featuring the Lando and Nine Num Millennium Falcon with some TIE interceptors. So, are we going to get the TIE interceptor separate though,
Yeah, so
outside the pack?
series four. So first of all, thank you for having us on. I always love being referred to as a special guest. It does make me feel special when people say that. The TIE Interceptor is going to be part of Series 4, so it'll be a mainline release. The version that's being included with the in the Destroy the Death Star battle pack actually includes exclusive battle damage deco on it. So both of those
Mm.
will have cool, unique battle damage deco on them to help differentiate them from the mainline release. And of course, the Destroy the Death Star set will have a crazy detailed deco on the Millennium Falcon with battle damage galore, as well as a broken off radar dish with some scratch marks right behind it as well. It does include the full radar dish as well if you'd like to just reenact the scene where Tim.
That was too close.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it comes with nine num, it comes with Lando Calrissian, two rebel Endor rebel troopers, and the two TIE pilots. So yeah, that one is going to go up for pre-order, I believe, on the 40 years to the day, 5/25, that Return of the Jedi was released in theaters. Which is
You
a
just saw it
nice
for the
wedding
first
gift.
time in theaters, correctly?
I
Correct?
did. I did. So, what's interesting is I've seen every Star Wars movie in theaters, with the exception of Return of the Jedi. I went to the special editions of Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, but my dad did not want to go see Return of the Jedi, and so this was my very first chance to ever see it in theaters. And what was really special is seeing it after like talking to Mike and understanding all the different characters and like creatures and just pieces of creatures that he played. Like it was such a fun Easter egg hunt to kind of go through and see all that. Not to mention like the Jabba's palace scene. Like I'm an action figure collector from way back. Like I bought all these or seen all these aliens and creatures that were supposedly in Jabba's palace, but I never actually saw them because the screen I was watching the movie on was too small. When you see it on the big screen, you see characters like Post Nickton, you see Ifant Mon, you see Amandine several times, and there were shots of the Max Rebo band that I totally forgot about. I totally forgot that Slice Noodles and Droopy McCool laugh at I think I can't remember if they laugh at Ula's death or something else, it's crazy.
So, what's it like being Star Wars fans, going from Star Wars fans to working for a company producing a big mainline Star Wars collectible toy line that is worldwide at this point?
It's terrifying. It's literally terrifying. I mean, it's one thing for the entire thing to be conceptual, right? So
Mhm.
again, what I keep saying is I've been on this since day -3, right? We had a company-wide meeting. It was every creative in the company, and management, and the kind of like the task was passed down of like, all right, who here is a Star Wars fan? This is what Lucas and Disney are asking for us to pitch, this micro vehicle line with micro figure accessories, and we're like, okay, cool, or just a micro vehicle line in general. And I was sitting in there. I had been invited because I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I made that known. And I'm sitting next to one of the higher ups of the company, who I won't name here, but he's worked for Toy Biz. He owned and I think he owned Color Forms at one point. The things that you peel and stick onto things. It's been around since the 50s. And I'm like, I have an idea. And he's like, yeah, go ahead, say it. And I was like, all right, cool. And so I just laid it all out, and there was silence at the end. And I was like, oh no. Oh, I don't like where this is going. Silence is never good. But then, the SVP came on and essentially said, yeah, we're going to go with that. And so I worked with the incredibly talented teams at Jazwares to kind of concept it, put the pitch deck together, and then as I was moving my wife and I from Florida to California, we drove the entire way. In Arizona. We stopped and we pitched it. And then, after we got the deal with Lucasfilm, one of the people that I asked to, or that I, one of the people that I really just entrusted with, like, I need help in understanding everything there is to know about Star Wars because I'm a mega fan, but like there are people who know every nuance. And I've known Tim since college, and he and I kind of just worked together and figured out every possible vehicle that we could possibly do for Star Wars. And that was that like those conversations were so helpful because like his fandom and my fandom combined were like, I wouldn't say all encompassing, but like it led us to things like the Mist Hunter, and it led us to Poplu's flaming speeder bike and stuff like that. So it was really, really cool. But to kind of answer your question, why it's terrifying is conceptually, right? It's freaking awesome. Like we've
Mhm.
created such an incredibly cool line. Like I keep looking at the Imperial shuttle, like seated here on my desk, and like this is amazing. But you realize that you've been entrusted by Lucasfilm, you've been entrusted by the fans to create something super, super cool. And when you meet them in person, you realize the kind of like, oh man, like we have to do right by the fans. All of these people are so incredible. All of these people have put so much passion, so much ingenuity, so much of their time and energy into Star Wars, and we are trying to create the best possible micro vehicle line for them, or vehicle line in general for them, and that is a tremendous responsibility. So it's fun, it's engaging, it's the most fun I've ever had at any job I've ever had, but it's also terrifying in the fact that there's that there's that I would say expectation to live up to would probably be the best phrasing there. And yeah, just on a daily basis, knowing like, okay, fans, I know I need to put myself in fans' shoes about what fans would want, and then also take into account everything we're being told at conventions, take into account everything that we get told on podcasts and comments and stuff like that, and try to work into the line all those improvements or all those cool things that fans want to see. That's a very long-winded answer. Tim, how does it feel for you,
But
man?
that no, but you know what, Max? That's why you're the perfect guy for the job because you care that much.
Mm.
Me, I'm like, this is the ride of a lifetime, dude. I'm just like, I'm enjoying every minute of it. I never thought I'd be able to be this close to I especially a toy line, which is so darn cool. And Max and the designers, and they're doing so much of the heavy lifting. And again, this is another shout out for our incredible design team and our packaging team and everyone that we work with. I mean, they're just it's a whole Rebel Alliance of cast of characters, and they're all doing amazing work. And like we're all mega fans. So it it's really
Can I
cool.
interrupt you for 1 second on that? Because like it you always hear people say that. Like you always hear people say, "Oh, we're all fans," or like the entire team is fans. Like I can say like burden on my heart, like every single person who works on this brand is a Star Wars fan and comes and like there's like it because they geek out at stuff like all the time. Like we'll be on calls and like Adam, our amazing bearded mountain man of a product manager, he will go and he'll be like, "I love this vehicle. It's my favorite vehicle. Just look at all the cool stuff that you've built into this, or we've got into this. This is my favorite." He used to do things in like the early days of the line where he would just take samples and go, "That one's mine." And so like you get that from every single member of the team, and it's so like that's why I love having them on all the podcasts that we're so fortunate, by the way, to get invited to do. Like these are a hoot. Like I've never been on a podcast before no, I'm sorry, I was on one. Uh but like never really been on a podcast like on a regular basis before the line came out and even before this last year, and it's like it's such an honor to be invited by Star Wars fans to talk about the line, but then also to like get to invite various team members on and have them share their Star Wars stories or share their Star Wars fandom. Like we had Will on, we had Daniel Partain on, the guy who like is really responsible for the look our microfigure accessories like took on, and then to have them all just kind of like keep coming on like as special guests and then even maybe even leading an episode someday, it's a total hoot. And like that really just speaks to the authenticity of the fandom, I guess, and that's kind of what I wanted to get at. I'm sorry, Tim, I didn't mean to interrupt you for that long.
It's fine. I mean, look, Max said it all. I mean, it's a dream come true. We're really lucky to be able to be in this position. Um, but we're all still a part of the same ecosystem. And I think that was the coolest thing that we talked with Mike about, was that like, he's like, yeah, I was a puppeteer on a film, and yeah, we were close to him, and he was like, yeah, but you guys are a part of the same ecosystem too. And but I also, being on the other side of like fan, like, you're all a part of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
We're all a part of the ecosystem of our love for this brand and for this franchise. And like, yeah, it is really cool to be able to make it officially and do this, but like, it's a part of the ecosystem, and like it would not be what it is without all of the amazing fans that we encountered at Celebration and these really great podcasts and talking to you. And so like, the more I think about it, like the line is, there's less of a line of like, oh, it's like we're on this side of the line, people aren't on that side of the line. It's
Well,
all a part of this incredible ecosystem.
ecosystem is a
I'm
great word.
happy to have been a part of before this, and now to
Oh
be able
no.
to have a platform to like engage more with the community is just the best.
Because you're right in that it's an ecosystem, and it's like you have the official material that Lucasfilm releases and that licensees release, but then you have everything that is built upon that by fans that kind of grows it even further, and you have this massive tapestry of everything that's been created for Star Wars, and it's partially official, and then it's partially also like everything that fans do, from cosplay to engaging with people from the films to just writing their opinions and just living in these worlds. It really
And
is fascinating.
adventures you have with the toys in your living room, with your kids, with your siblings. I mean, that's all part of the ecosystem. So to be a part of, the infrastructure, to go into that part of the infrastructure is been really eye opening and enlightening, and also really fun. And the one anecdote I'll tell is that I wrote the first wave of copy for our series one line, like, and I was a contractor, so it was like a week after my son was born. But it was a really magical experience to be able to do that, because Star Wars is so much about generations, and to have been in the fan community for Star Wars for a very long time, and do that as I became a father, was a very special experience.
Yeah, it was unfortunate that Tim then turned to the dark side and his former master had to strike him down, and then he became
All of
Darth
my hatred
Bungaroth.
and my journey towards the dark side was complete.
Yes, with
That got
only one of
dark.
his
That
sleeve.
got really dark really
Yeah.
quickly.
Well, no, your family's still alive in this narrative, so it's totally fine. Like, imagine your dog Arthur with like a Darth Vader helmet on.
My dog is Darth Vader. My dog is the Emperor. I bowed to
Yes, yes.
him.
Can you imagine with a little hood? Yes, yes.
Do it.
Give me
Do
a
it.
treat. Do it. Give me the treat.
No, he's very demanding. No, Arthur is
He's backtracking on his comments about his dog being the
he is kind
emperor.
of the Emperor.
All right. So we talked about how great it
I'm
is
sorry,
working on
Bobby, is
this.
this your worst interview ever? I'm so sorry. Like,
No, this is totally fine.
you've
This
caught
is
us at a
this is
very unique point in our lives.
no, this is totally fine. This is totally fine. Um, so we've talked about how awesome it is to, as Star Wars fans, work on a brand such as Micro Galaxy Squadron, and not just work on a brand, but essentially help create this brand, as you've discussed earlier, Max. What are that you can talk about some of the challenges that came with that? What are some of the challenges you kind of expected, and what are some of the challenges that just kind of maybe blindsided you guys when approaching working on a Star Wars brand?
That's a good question. I mean, our collaborators at Lucasfilm have been our biggest asset from day one. Like the work with them has been just the absolute best, and our relationship continues to improve all the time. Like I love working with all the guys there, like Chris Dern, who started with us, Lawrence Cruz, Chris Golaher, all of them have been fantastic to work with. So, I mean, Lucas has just been an absolute dream. I think it's learning curves, right? Like you're creating a line that really hasn't existed in this form ever. You have Action Fleet, but like the interesting thing about Action Fleet is that Action Fleet was hand sculpted. Action Fleet was all the exact same size for all the ships. So you're working with a single price point except for your play sets. Your micro figures there were hand sculpted. Taking all of that and then trying to accurately scale everything and fit it within specific price points. So, our Scout class blinds, our light armor class, our Starfighter class, our Starship class, and our Assault class, like it became oh wow, I didn't realize how big this vehicle was or how small this vehicle was until we actually laid everything out. And I think that was a challenge and eye opener of how you fit them within each of those individual price points. And then also, if it's a specific item, what's very interesting is that you may not know this, but if you have things that are sold in assortments like our light armor class, like the packaging depth and the packaging size need to be consistent across every single vehicle in there. So your packaging size is based directly on the largest vehicle in the line. So finding creative ways to ensure that product fits in the package is always a very interesting kind of dance. I mean, Will our packaging head or Olivia could definitely speak to this better than I can, but like I think the best example, right, is the Imperial Shuttle. Like, I
Mm,
have this in front of me, right? This needs to fit into this box because our retailers have set 29.9 or 29.99 SKU at this specific packaging size, right? As you can tell, there's no way to fit this thing cleanly in there. And so from literally any angle, it doesn't fit. So we had to make the wings removable. We had to make the central fin removable, and all of that presents a very interesting challenge to work through. So like stuff like that, I didn't anticipate. I know that our design team did. I think also just in terms of the complexity of the vehicles and what needed to be done in order to fit certain play features in and the availability of specific assets pertaining to the interior of the vehicles, right? We want to have interior play on our larger ships. a lot of that stuff doesn't exist. Like it exists in the cutaway books, but the stuff is the incredible cross sections, like that's created for those books and it's approved by Lucasfilm. Some of that doesn't exist, and so we have to go through various pieces of media. I think it's Jedi Survivor or the game beforehand, but that game is what gives us the first real look at the inside of an AT-AT. And the doors and all the details and stuff like that. So we actually took screenshots from the game to build out the interior of our AT-AT as accurately as possible. So like those are all interesting challenges. I do not know why I thought that every single vehicle was going to have like a set of schematics and blueprints and stuff like that, kind of like you would mail away for in the 70s and 80s when the original Kenner line was around. But like just that was a massive eye opener. And then
That's one of
uh
the coolest parts, though, right? Like talking about like why it's so fun to be in this position right now. It's like, wow, you get to actually be a part of creating something like that wasn't there. Just like you're talking about the illustrations were made for that cross section. I mean, that's one of the coolest parts too. To like really like even the Star Wars is such a big tapestry, right? Like to be able to be like, okay, we're gonna go in there and we're gonna be able to work with Lucas to like, carve out like, hey, is there a throne in the
yeah,
Imperial shuttle? Like, yeah, like,
yeah,
and that's
I like
awesome.
that.
And I'm like, the more for me, it's like the more opportunities we have to do that. I mean, that I think is really cool stuff.
It's
Uh,
special, right? It's
yeah,
very special because you feel like you're helping to. I don't know if any of this will be canonical based on the toy, but like it's still really cool to be a part of that kind of creation process. Um, figuring out how these things are going to be produced, figuring out the timelines that we would need in order to actually hit our ship dates, all of that was a challenge. All of that was very interesting to work through. Especially considering how exacting the detail is with these vehicles and the microfigures. Like we need to make sure that these things were perfect, and Lucasfilm has been absolutely amazing about helping us make sure these things are perfect, but that takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of people a lot of man hours to do. I think the coolest anecdote that I've had is so we have these things called PDSs, they're product data sheets. They're essentially the master document for every single item. And for, the usual Jazwares action figure item, they're 12 pages long, right? So it lists what's in the case pack, what kind of packaging it is, the size, the scale, um, turns of the image of the product, paint master with PMS color callouts, it's Pantone matching system color callouts, any features that they might have, etc. Right? Yeah. Micro Galaxy Squadron upwards of 60 pages long each.
oh,
Some of
wow.
them have gone as high as 70 or 80 pages. It's completely unheard of, but it speaks to the craftsmanship and the time the team puts into this. And like I've been so fortunate at Jazwares to work with so many people who truly love the brands that they work on. And you're like, when you go into a line, you're always like, oh my God, like, why? I'm so excited to see what the design team's going to look like. I'm so excited to see who's going to be on it. I got a call from the first design team member, Tyrone Keys, that we had on board. Tyrone is the guy who drew the Beast Wars eye that was on the original Kenner packaging. Tyrone is the guy who he tells a story where he went to a Lost World Jurassic Park pitch meeting with Steven Spielberg to show him the toy line and include all these vehicles for snaring dinosaurs. And Steven Spielberg said, yeah, where are those from? And Tyrone was like, yeah, we made them up because we think they should be in the movie. And here's why. And then allegedly Steven Spielberg asked, how much time do we have left in shooting? And they added that entire sequence in because of the toys.
Whoa,
Again,
wait,
that's
which sequence was it?
the sequence where the trappers are like on the island and they're hunting down all the dinosaurs. Roland Tembo's big scene. Is it Roland
Great.
Tembo? The guy who's like he can't pronounce the dinosaur names.
That's too deep for me. Then my Jurassic Park knowledge is.
Much to learn you have, Tim. Um, yeah, no, yeah, but like you see these team members and like they like stuff like that is you just go, oh thank God. Oh thank God you're part of this line. Like Dion, thank God you're part of this line. Gi-hoon. Gi-hoon. Like I can't say Gi-hoon's name enough because Gi-hoon like texts me and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, it's our day off. Like it's a holiday. I'm just chilling out with family." He goes, "Look what I made." And it's a scale Star Destroyer made of cardboard, that opens up and has an interior play section. I'm like, I'm very fortunate. Like but I think those are the interesting things you find out and the challenges. Like you anticipate a lot of this stuff happening, but like the thing is like Jazwares is such a well-oiled machine when it comes to the personnel and when it comes to the people working there. Like our product development team had this stuff on lock. Like we had challenges along the way. We had weird stuff that happened. Like let me try to think back to series one. Series one? Yeah, we're calling them series now instead of waves. What was some of the weird stuff about series one?
Well, I can
Yeah,
speak.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, man.
No, for me, so the challenges that I can speak of is that I think one of the challenges about any line that you feel passionate about, like Star Wars, is that you want everything to be sort of crystallized in its most perfect state in the beginning. And inevitably that's never going to be the case, right? By like even by like wave three or like the third wave, it's like, okay, did we really get in a cadence of like how this copy is going to be written? Like, how are we going to talk about it? There are one of the biggest challenges is I think was just sort of like finding our footing a little bit in in even how, for me from a copy perspective is um how exactly we wanted to position it in terms of language. And I think we were very close in the beginning, but there were, because I love it so much and I love the material so much. There's like some series one stuff where I mean, like, oh man, wish you could go back and tweak that a little bit here and there. Not that it's like, you know, it's a big deal, but it's like as a writer, it's like, art is never finished. There's definitely some things, but you learn. And then, I would have loved to have another crack at Luke Skywalker's X-wing fighter, especially the Jedi fighter. But like all that went into what I wrote for the land speeder. So there's little things you learn along the way of like, I think just generally the challenges, yeah. The challenges of starting a something from scratch and then finding your groove as multiple waves continue.
You know what? And even to build on that, like,
Well, the
saying that
demo with the
nothing's
ship engines, yeah.
saying that nothing's ever done. Like the crazy thing to me is just like I can't believe some of the stuff that we get at like the first shot or the FE or the EP stage, right? So like that early, not even early production. This is like a prototype essentially, or after we've gone to tooling and everything like that. It's really our first look at the first painted model. I'm always such a total geek for it. Like I just love it and I can't believe how well it turned out. And I'll have one or two like nitpicks and stuff like that, but our design team is so knowledgeable and so like laser tuned and focused into this that as is their gig, right? That they go, "Oh yeah, here's 12 pages of comments on how we need to improve this to make it perfect." And
Mm.
like I'm holding evidence of that in my hand, right? Like I keep talking about the Imperial shuttle. This is like a promo video for it. But like when this thing originally came back to us, like the EP and then the FEP that we received, like we wanted to do a wash on it. Like a paint wash is essentially when you have a product that has a ton of detail on it, you want that detail to stand out. And it's not always going to come out in the painted plastic or just in the raw plastic, right? What you do is you add a wash to it, which is a darker color that you then essentially wipe off. And sometimes it's wiped off even by hand. And it's a very, very complicated process because it's essentially very subjective. No two pieces are the same. Um, but when we got our FEP for the Imperial Shuttle, in fact, the one that we showed off at Star Wars Celebration, the thing looked like the shuttle Tydirium. Like it was a mess. It was dirty. It was a, I would say, a dull brown almost. And I remember the team going, specifically Diane, if I remember correctly, going, the Emperor's shuttle is not dirty. The Emperor would never have a dirty shuttle. And so we worked to make sure that we remove so much of that that wash and that weathering, which again, to get the details to pop, you still need to have some on there. And so what you have is you have such a much nicer, much cleaner version of the vehicle. So yeah, I mean, stuff like that where we're
And
never
even think
satisfied.
about the tampo stuff too, like the difference between what we have on the helm, the level of detail on the helmets, the microfigure accessories from Series One to now where we are in Series Four.
Oh yeah.
Um, with this tampo process we have that I know absolutely nothing about it except its name, and I love saying tampo process. But no, I mean it before it went from like a red dot to for the Alliance insignia
Mm-hmm.
to the detail of all of Big's checkered
I still can't believe that. Like
yeah, I mean it looks
getting a
the amount
mustache
of
on.
improvement
Yeah.
we've done within just a couple of waves is incredible.
And again, that's because the design and the PD team are working constantly with their factories in China to essentially create new processes for how these are done. My favorite thing is comparing them with the old Action Fleet characters because the Action Fleet characters are about, I would say they're about half an inch taller than these guys, maybe even a quarter inch taller, sculpted by hand, but also for a good portion of them painted by hand, right? So people are like, well, yeah, they were able to paint Boba Fett's visor back in 1995. Yeah, because someone had a paintbrush that was smaller than the width of one of your hairs and able to actually paint that in there by hand. Because of the cost of like manufacturing, that's impossible to do nowadays. So it has to be by machine. And so we're creating methods by machine to create even the finest of details, which again you can just see in the land speeder. I mean, this thing is our
Luke's
smallest
giving him
vehicle
a
ever.
hug.
And Luke's bending over onto Obi-Wan's shoulder for some reason. I don't know why.
Wow.
But like you look at the level of detail on that just from a deco perspective, and then you can even remove an engine cover and there's metallic deco in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you remove the back section and there's metallic deco as well. Like I love this thing. This thing will stay on my desk for the remainder of time.
It looks
It's so
incredible.
fun. I mean, let's see. Here's a great example from Series One, right? So we did the Millennium Falcon, right? I don't have a Millennium
Yep.
Falcon in front of me, except the one's boxed. Um, you know that it has a rotating gunnery turret in the middle, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So when we first got back our samples after tooling, we were like, cool, like the friction in here is pretty good. You can pop it out from the inside. It works perfectly. Like it's good. As we moved to production, they polished the tool, which they polished it a bit too much in the turret's case, and that caused the turret to actually fall out when you would flip over the Falcon. And we knew we could never go to market with an item like that, and so we jury rigged this tiny little like tab and lock system that we put on the finished product, and then we were able to then refine that as we went into further production runs of that item to make sure that the turret stays in and you can still spin around freely. So it's like learning on the fly, adapting on the fly, revising on the fly, implementing tooling modifications where possible to make sure the X-Wings S-foils snap open into attack position, make sure that the TIE fighter's wings are actually keyed in so they only fit in a specific way. So you can't have them upside down or side to side and make anything really inauthentic. Stuff of that nature. That was a long answer.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was a great answer. So, talking about all of these challenges and things and working on this brand and how awesome it is, what has been your favorite product to come out of Micro Galaxy Squadron so far?
Tim, go ahead. Take this one.
It's for both of you.
It's a great question, and I have some personal favorites
Yeah.
and certain some vehicles and chips that are close to my heart. But I think pound for pound, the coolest thing that we've done right now is the AT-AT Walker,
Mm-hmm.
because not all of our ships have lights and sounds, but this one does, like the Falcon, and it really amps up. Having the lights and sounds amps up the play experience. And to me, for my money as well, is that it's the only AT-AT I know that comes packed in with Luke and his grappling hook, which is like the greatest scene from the film when he takes out the AT-AT on his own with the thermal detonator and his lightsaber. So having that, immortalized in this, play experience is incredible. And the other thing I love about it too is that its neck is really posable, so you can get it to do all these great things. And it just reminds me of that awesome shot from Empire where after Luke takes one down, like another snowspeeder tries to like go in, and it just sort of like it moves in a way you didn't think it could move, and it just blows it out of the sky. So it has that sort of capability, and then we talked about this before about it's inside. So you take it inside. There's a crane. There's space for 4 speeders. It's storage, which I love personally. And you've got all this room for a troop bay. You've got General Veers, aka Walter Donovan,
Oh
going
my
after
God,
the
this
Holy
the
Grail in his AT-AT Walker. No, I just when I was at Celebration with Max in Europe, the kids were having so much fun with it,
oh my God,
and and
exactly.
and just so much fun. And if I had, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like I'm playing with it now, and I'm as excited as I would be as a kid. But that's what they went gaga over, and the lights and sounds. It has the viewport and the blaster sounds and the walking sounds, and just like the full play experience. And then for me, where Micro Galaxy Squadron really shines is its true play and display. A lot of people use that terminology, but like it's awesome for collectors because it's
Hmm.
also scaled and at a size that's not going to destroy your home.
Yeah.
Um, but it also has tons of details in the play features as well, from all that are baked in from the entire narrative experience of the film. So that of all the vehicles, and which is our next big thing, and it shows where we've come. Um, that is just it's an incredible experience for any Star Wars fan.
So I have kind of a similar answer and kind of a similar story. Like being in the toy industry, one of the cool things about working on lines is that you the best lines have stories behind them, right? And the best series have stories behind them. Like I remember when I worked on a line called Domes, we had a series of Steamboat Willie domes that we were doing. So domes were stylized licensed collectibles that came in their own stackable and connectable display cases or dome display
Oh,
cases.
yeah, I
Got
know what
it?
you're talking about.
Domes? Yeah.
Yep.
So we did the goat. I don't know if you guys remember the goat from Steamboat Willie, but it is a goat that is on the steamboat, and Mickey Mouse at one point, oh God, is it the cat? Yeah, I think he winds its tail essentially, and he makes it into a record player or something like that. I don't remember, but we did the goat as one of the characters we did, and I remember I'll never forget like just having a 3 hour long conversation on the phone with our designer over at Disney, and like he's trying to work through, and I'm not a sculptor, obviously. I'm communicating these to our sculptor in China, and he's giving me like how to refine the sculpt. And he's like, "Yeah, that goat needs to be chill, man. Like he needs to be super, super chill." And I'm like, "Okay." And next day we came back, and I'm like, "How about this?" He goes, "Oh man, that goat is too chill. He's too chill looking. He's got this very, his eyes have this very like calm demeanor, but he's also got that smile." And like we went through it day after day after day for like, good hour-long conversations. And like we finally got that goat done. But like just having conversations about the chill of a goat and how chill that goat is will never leave me. And it's very similar for Micro Galaxy Squadron, right? Like you have those stories for the specific items. And for me, it's the Millennium Falcon. Like when I watched Star Wars for the first time, when I watched Return of the Jedi in my parents' bedroom while they're having a party downstairs, like just transfixed and like feeling like a little kid. And when I like, or I was a little kid, but like feeling that sense of like awe and joy. And I remember at our global sales conference, I was demonstrating the Millennium Falcon for the very first time. Like the you can actually move it and has motion controlled lights and sounds. And that feeling came back of like being like 10 years old again and in awe at this toy. And if like a toy has the ability to transport you back to your youth and to that time in your life, that really means a lot. So the Falcon will always be indelible for that. But I mean, as Tim said before, like the AT-AT is a work of art. The AT-AT is I always say AT-AT. I don't know why I'm saying AT-AT, but like it's a
Grew up saying
beautiful
at, and now
it,
people say AT, but I called it an at as a kid.
it's such a beautiful, fun toy. Like you said it about the neck articulation, like the tactile feeling of the ratcheting joints, the tactile play, the characters that it comes with, the fact that General Veers can stand up in the cockpit area while you have two AT-AT pilots in the front, the speeder bay garage in the back, like all of that is just so fun. And like the thing I want more than anything else with that vehicle that I keep thinking about, and oh man, I can't believe it's summer now, is taking that thing into the snow and playing with it is
Yep.
currently all I have on my mind. Like just
Hmm.
stomping the legs in the snow, like launching the speeder bike and really having fun like that. And then, you know, on the other end of the spectrum, it's like stuff like General Grievous's wheel bike, where like, do you see how big the tray is and do you see how big the vehicle is? It literally maxes out the entire tray itself, and yet we still have articulated legs in this thing. Like it's amazing. Like I love this thing. And like the cool thing about all the vehicles is that you remember where you were the first time you saw these vehicles, or if you have specific memories for these specific vehicles. Like I remember seeing this sequence in oh my gosh, Revenge of the Sith. And I remember like going like the only toy I want to buy is General Grievous's General Grievous's wheel bike, and now having one that I can have on display on my desk that comes with Grievous is just like it's icing on the cake. It's just so cool. Like it's that feel like the Millennium Falcon touches my childhood. The AT-AT touches like my kid brain sense of play, but like this thing just sets off like the how freaking cool is that? Like that we were able to accomplish this, and like I would say that those three are my favorite. And then of course the Imperial Shuttle just because of the silhouette alone. Like, and the fact that we were able to, as Tim said, put the throne for the Emperor inside. Like, whooshability wise, like this thing's fun to play with, and it's beautiful to have on your desk, and it's beautiful to have as a display piece as well. So yeah, I think those four vehicles would probably be my favorite, but I'm sure I'm forgetting one.
Cheated.
What?
I said you cheated.
I have four. I have four, Tim.
It was definitely it was
I'm the brand
definitely
manager here. Come on.
it was definitely one, but that's okay. Couldn't help but notice, Tim, that he didn't say his favorite one is the upcoming ATT that we're exclusively announcing right now. Just kidding. Um, well,
Did
since
we
it's summer, I
exclusive?
mean, if y'all want to pivot real quick and modify the ATAT into an ATACT and have that out by summer, you can play with that on the beach.
Wait, all right. AT-ACT. Oh my God. Is that the
Rogue
swimming
One.
AT-AT?
No, it's
Oh
Rogue
no,
One.
yeah. First of all, that one's actually a good touch bigger than the AT-AT, so it'd be a completely new tool. It's not even a tooling modification. The
I'm
tooling
happy.
modification piece that we could have though, uh, that I don't know if we would ever do this, but like so back in the day, you probably know this. I'm sure you know this.
I do.
Kenner pitched an idea to continue Star Wars past Return of the Jedi with their own essentially expanded universe. And what they
Yeah.
did was they took a bunch of the vehicles they had and they kit bashed them together with model kit parts and stuff like that to make essentially Heir to the Emperor, if I'm not mistaken.
You're
Um,
talking about the Epic Continues
Yes,
line.
the Epic Continues line. Yes, thank you. And one of them is just the AT-AT, but it has the back sections taken off and it's been replaced with the cannon from the Death Star playset.
Yep.
Like the long cannon. I would love to do that vehicle because how wacky is that? That's so
I mean,
wacky.
just call it a concept line.
We
Just
could.
do the
I mean,
Micro Galaxy
we
concept
could.
line. And I mean, because there's that's one of the things I wanted to bring up in this was aside from canonical vehicles and aside from just doing legends vehicles, concept characters and concept vehicles are also a big part of Star Wars collecting. There's a lot of brands even today that are focusing on just concept stuff. Regal Robot is a really good
Yep.
example of that. They do a lot of conceptual stuff, and it's truly amazing, and it's some of the most exciting stuff out there. And there's a lot of room, especially for a brand like Micro Galaxy, to do conceptual vehicles like that. That's a prime example. That would be such a big deal to Star Wars fans all around the world if just one day y'all go, okay, here it is from this concept line. We're doing the epic AT-AT that Kenner proposed and did do a prototype. It just, of course, didn't make it to production because George was like, no, I don't want to do any toys like that right now. I just
Well,
don't want
I applaud what Lucasfilm did in terms of putting a pause on that because I think the
to.
brand did need time to rest, especially,
Sure.
you had Return of the Jedi, then you had droids, then you had Ewoks, and
Yep.
the brand needed time to, I think, coalesce in the overall pop culture miasma, so to speak, or the zeitgeist, and kind of get that legendary status, and then build up that demand for something else. So I think that was a very smart decision on their end. Not that my opinion in that really matters, but like I. I applaud them for that because it would have been so easy to be like, yeah, let's just keep going with it. Let's keep going with it. But they're like, no, it's good. It's time for a rest right now. Let's revisit this in a while.
Sure.
Uh, I I think stuff like the Macquarie concept art is definitely more along our lines in terms of what we would probably approach doing, but like I can't take anything off the table. I mean, it'd be really fun to see some of the crazy concept vehicles that have been done over the past years or have been, ideated against. Like I loved how Action Fleet had the two packs of like the smaller like concept version of the vehicle and then the full size like real version of the vehicle. I think doing a real size version of that would be fun. But again,
Well,
it's
they
something where it does have
I
limited
also that
popularity.
reminds me. I mean, one I love. Then they did a figure of this. Was I love the concept art of Anakin's alternate Revenge of the Sith outfit, and it was
mhm.
much more on its way to becoming Darth Vader than sort of the black tunic, the leather tunic that he had in the film. I actually loved that concept art because it looked way more like a closer transition to Vader and like a light side Vader. I think it would be neat. I think it would be neat. There's a lot of things. That's the fun of it, right? I mean, there's so many things to dream about, and everyone's like, "Have you thought about this?" And it's like, believe me, we
Believe me.
we've talked about a lot of different vehicles. But I think there's a lot of fun concept stuff too. And
The only one we'll never do is the Twilight. I will never do the Twilight.
which
What?
one?
Why?
It's a
Why?
box.
Huh?
It's a box with
Oh yeah, yeah,
two
yeah,
wings.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
love the
the
I love
AT-AT is a box with legs.
I like the
I offer you an AT-AT, I offer you the Twilight that comes with Anakin, Ahsoka, and Rod of the Hutt. Or I offer you an AT-AT Walker with electronic lights and sounds. They would literally cost the same amount of money. Which would you choose?
Well, we're past the AT-AT because that's already coming out. So let's refocus here. Let's start working on the Twilight. Let's get that
Never.
because it's got
I'll
to be
never
able to
say never. I'll
it's
never say
got to be
never,
able
but
to
the
fit the
Twilight.
Delta 7. I mean,
yeah,
that'd be cool.
and I always forget the name of this of this ship, but I like the one they had later, and it was like it almost looked like a big C, and it had like a Falcon type cockpit in the center. It like almost looked like a
Oh,
boomerang.
Do you mean the Jedi Attack Shuttle?
I think that's it.
Yeah,
I love that
yeah.
one. That I would love to do. Hold on, let me make sure we Jedi Attack Shuttle.
I
I know
guarantee it's
which
the
one you're
Jedi
talking
Attack
about.
Shuttle.
No,
It's
no,
funny
no,
we
it's not that.
No.
it's funny
Which
we
one is it?
talk about doing concept vehicles, and there's actually a lot of vehicles that were Macquarie concept and Joe Johnson concept and other
And then
concept
eventually came to
artists
pass, right?
that did
Yeah.
make it into canon. I mean, there's a version of the AT-AT. I mean, y'all talk about how y'all used the AT-AT model from Jedi Fallen Order as inspiration for the interior of the AT-AT. And while that's awesome and it looks amazing, that's actually a different model of AT-AT entirely. That model of AT-AT was more based off the I want to say Ralph McQuarrie concept art, which is the version we saw appear in Star Wars Rebels. That was an earlier model of AT-AT, not like the one we see in Empire Strikes Back.
Tim, we have to scrap the entire production run immediately. Oh my God. Let's get on the horn with
This is
China.
gonna kill me. This is gonna kill me now because now I gotta. It's one of my favorite ships, and I just. It's got one of those weird names. It's kind of forgettable.
Is it the Jedi attack? The T6 shuttle?
No, maybe is it T6
But
shuttle?
and talking about Action Fleet doing the concept packs, a lot of people forget actually in the
Yeah.
Phantom Menace line of Action Fleet, they actually did flip it where they did the larger vehicle was the concept
They
vehicle that
did
you
that.
bring in,
Yeah, that
and
was
then the smaller one
yeah, the
was the
Phantom
other
Menace
vehicle.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was cool.
It's the T6. It's
Told you it was
T6
a
so
T6. The
cool.
yeah, Jedi attack shuttle is the one
nailed
that
it,
looks more like the Lambda class.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
which
Yeah, I mean,
it's
was originally
super
concept art
cool.
for the Lambda, which is really cool. Yeah.
it would be really cool to do that vehicle, especially with there's some really cool action features we could do with that.
That was a design that I think didn't that could have lasted longer and like deserved a name. That was a
Who
great.
knows? It might.
Hey,
Never say never. And that's one of the cool things I love about the Micro Galaxy brand overall is it's very clearly a never say never type of model collecting brand. I mean, I never would have thought, and you and I talked about this at Celebration 22, Max, that in the opening set of a new toy line like this, or even a collectible ship toy line, that you would do obscure, lesser known vehicles like Asajj Ventress's Starfighter alongside the Millennium Falcon in the same series.
We really want to come out like, and that be kind of our thesis statement of what we wanted to do with the brand, right? Which is to do every vehicle. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to just do the A tier vehicles that everybody does in eight different ways. We wanted to do really cool ones that people have not seen possibly ever. And then other vehicles that haven't gotten their due treatment in decades, if not more. When we do the oh my God,
so hold on. The feature
I'm blanking on it. Hold on one second. I'm trying to remember which one. There's one vehicle that we're doing that will be the first time it's been offered in like 20 years or something like that. It's
is
something.
Dirge.
Oh yeah, it's Dirge, yeah.
Yeah, it's Dirge,
Very
which is awesome.
nice.
But that sort of
Dirge.
brings me to like in the same vein as like the concept, doing concept art vehicles. To me, and this is just spitballing of like, never say never. What I would love to see is that
Never.
never, absolutely not. No, what I would love to see is the ability to go into some of the books, some of the stuff, and even new canon books, right? Some
Mm-hmm.
of the stuff that doesn't have something on file, right? That doesn't actually have a full design on file, and to work with Lucas and like based on our track record of what we've recreated, and to make something that may not actually have been shown visually. uh I think that as far as like wild dreaming, that would be cool stuff.
My favorite would be to just revisit all the cool stuff that I liked when I was younger, and execute against those vehicles, but like in a way that's never been done before. You've had your swoops, you've had your Viragos, you've had your Outriders. Let's make the best swoop. Let's make the best Outrider. Let's make the best Virago that anyone's ever seen. Um,
I want to on that. I want to do because I want to do Han Solo's swoop from Han Solo's Revenge by Brian Daly. That's what I want to do.
That
third
would be a
time
cool
Tim has
vehicle.
plugged this, by the way. Third
Yeah.
time.
Third time, huh? If only he knew somebody in
If
Jazwares
only.
who could maybe make this a reality for him. If only. If only.
If only, because it's not me that makes the decisions.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
with a feature that features a Han Solo's Revenge radio drama.
Oh my God, no, it'll never happen. I think the fun piece would be doing, I think it's from the expanded universe. If I remember correctly, Dengar was a swoop racer who was in a swoop race with Han Solo, and Han Solo caused him to crash into like these crystals that were growing out of the planet that caused like Dengar to get horribly scarred, and that's why Dengar hates Han Solo and wants to hunt him for that bounty, if I'm not mistaken. Like I'd love to do a two pack of that swoop race and then have it come with Dengar's ship as well.
The punishing one.
Yeah, that's a big vehicle. Dengar ship is huge. Bosk's ship is also massively huge, but the Natash Pup, which is the smaller one, is a Z95 Headhunter repainted, so that one's more likely.
I'd love to do some Z95s. I believe the Z95 is also a Brian Daly creation
Is it?
from Han Solo at Star's End. Yeah,
It might
God
be,
damn.
but
I know it is.
regardless,
I know it is. Yeah,
regardless,
I
it
know
is
that was a
canon.
rhetorical question.
The classic Z95 model we're talking about, not the Clone Wars one, it is canon.
Yay.
And it
yeah.
has very recently made its first official canon on-screen debut. Like, well, again, because it was part of old canon, of course, before it was
Right,
Legends,
right,
but
right.
it is back in canon again. It recently made an appearance in Jedi Survivor. So we do
Oh
Oh,
my
see
God,
these.
it did?
Yes, it did.
Yes.
It is back in official canon once again.
I love it.
Wait, but
I had
didn't
the X-Wing miniature version of the Z95. I had a couple of those, which are super
didn't
fun.
didn't the Z95 also make an appearance in the Clone Wars cartoon series as well?
Different model. It's a
Different
different
model?
model of
Okay.
Z95. Yeah. The
Well,
clone
there's like custom Z95s, right? Like there's
the
so many different versions.
You
the
know,
clone the one the Republic clone troopers use is actually quite bigger than the classic Z95. It's the wings are much wider and have a much longer wingspan, and the nose is also quite a bit longer as well than the classic Z95.
Man, I'm
But
gonna have to consult with you for stuff in the future. Be like,
but
hey,
Z95,
both
sure.
of which, hey, I told you from the moment I met you, I'm more than happy to freely throw out ideas anytime you want them.
can we also throw out those ideas when you throw
That's
them
fine.
at
You
us?
you can do whatever you want with them. You use them, don't use them. I'm just
Ideas are amazing things.
I'm just happy to have new Star Wars friends to
Aw.
talk cool stuff with. Micro Galaxy Squadron is all about small ships, but what we're seeing is a lot of fans are also having a blast putting together some really cool displays and dioramas with
Mhm.
your Micro Galaxy line. And a big part of that is having figures to go and crew our vehicles. Now, some vehicles coming in, some of the later series, will have a decent amount of figures with them, but some of the earlier series release of vehicles could use a few more characters to crew them, specifically like the troop transports and some of the gunships, for example. So, is there potential in the future to maybe see some army builder packs, like get an assortment of just a bunch of stormtroopers in a single pack, get a bunch of clone troopers, and if and when you guys start working on an MTT, which totally should be the next figure because we need more battle droid stuff, is there room for maybe battle droids in the future and stuff like that?
So, the line from conception and what makes it really unique is that we are vehicles first. And we've always been first and foremost with vehicles. Like the micro figure accessories are truly that. Like for the first time in really a Star Wars brand that I could think of, the figures are accessories to the vehicle, not the other way around. And
Mm,
that's kind of the philosophy that we're sticking to. You will see select vehicles like the Grand Army of the Republic Battle Pack that you've seen at Target, which has the four different colorways of the LAAT.
mm-hmm.
Those will come with a larger crew component. And we're looking for troop builders or troop transports to have, maybe a character more than they have had previously. Thinking about the Imperial troop transport that came with two troops. Even Lucasfilm was looking for us to include one more, but we had already moved too far in the process to include an additional one. But looking at vehicles like that going forward, yeah, there's a chance, but again, vehicle first. So all of our development, as much money as possible, because each of the figures themselves they're not inexpensive to produce. Um, every cent of our budget really goes into making the vehicles the best they can, and then including the figures that we can afford to include as well. So if at the expense of a character we can get more action features and playability for kids, and more details for collectors, then we'll sacrifice that character or that figure.
Awesome. And this is a more era specific question. You guys have shown that you are not adverse to working on any era of Star Wars in the Micro Galaxy line, and that's really incredible, and just again shows the amount of variety that's available still relatively early on into the life of this toy line. Has the discussion already started to produce High Republic era vehicles? We're starting to see a more push from Lucasfilm, where they're doing more and more High Republic content and High Republic Easter eggs and other things. I know we keep, or rather, I keep bringing up Jedi Survivor, mostly because that's the biggest thing in Star Wars
Mhm.
media at the moment, or rather the newest thing. And already we're getting into the High Republic era stuff in that game as well. And with the comics and books, there's already been some pretty cool and unique looking vehicles in the High Republic era.
So yes, the High Republic is something that is getting an increasing focus from Lucasfilm, and that will definitely extend into product lines as well. And we do want our line to be as kind of the moment as possible in terms of executing its new content, new vehicles that have been kind of shown off or revealed in various pieces of media. So yes, if and when the opportunity presents itself to include a High Republic vehicle from a piece of upcoming content, we would jump at the chance, but there's nothing really to reveal right now.
Oh, okay,
But that's the
cool.
fun part, right? I mean, the amazing part about being a Star Wars fan right now, and one of the best things about being a part of the Micro Galaxy Squadron line right now, is that it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan. Not only do we have all this history behind us, but we've got a lot of stuff in front of us, and we know there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline, that Lucasfilm is dreaming up. So that's the exciting thing. So for us to, keep this line going, and which is, which we're thankful for all of you and all of our incredible fans that continue to support this product. And as you continue to support it, more of those opportunities will come up, especially, as new content comes out. For me personally, I only saw the trailer at Celebration, but I was like, wow, I'm so excited for the Ahsoka series. I can't wait to see what's going on in that. And I know Andor 2 is coming out, and what's going to come out in that, and some of the new movies. The Mandoverse film that was teased. So much is in the pipeline, and it'll always be a part of our conversations when that stuff comes up.
Grogu, the movie starring Grogu as Grogu, coming soon.
Din Grogu.
I'm sorry, Din Grogu, starring Din Grogu as Grogu. Yeah, I'd love to see that. I'd also love to see an entire Splinter series focusing purely on the client, or Werner Herzog's character.
Mm.
That would be my dream series. We need to do a microfigure accessory of Werner Herzog so that I can have him talk about it on a show. Purely for that reason.
Do
My
a
figure, my microfigure accessory is this big. It's super tiny. It's amazing. The likeness, if you zoom in on it, it looks exactly like me. I have a cold, so I can't do my best Werner Herzog impersonation, but I'm sure you can give it a go, Bobby.
well, no, that was pretty good, I think. Okay. Well, if you want to do a Werner, maybe do a Navarro Cantina playset that we can park our Thai Outlander at, and that would be perfect for Werner.
That's
You know,
amazing. I
yeah.
think we have time for one more question before Tim and I gotta head out because it's 8:30 where I am. I know it's 5:30 where Tim is, and his both of our children are demanding of our attention.
Oh, no worries. Trying to think. That might have actually been all of my questions for this go around. Actually, guys, you have both been absolutely wonderful. It has been a treat to talk Micro Galaxy, and just a treat to actually talk Star Wars with you guys, because that's one of the things that we don't really get to do so much when we're talking about the toys or talking with a brand about upcoming product, is just going off into tangents about what we're actually talking about, the things in Star Wars, what they mean, what they come from. And that was an absolute pleasure, and I'm sure you guys don't get to talk about it much either, because they're always asking, well, what's the next ship, and what's the ship you're working on now, and hey, what about this detail on this specific ship right here? Why come you didn't, you know, make it this many meters, like just on this exact scene over here? So I hope you guys had a really good time talking this with us,
It
and
was
I hope.
Gremlins. If anything's ever wrong with anything in the line, it was Gremlins.
There you go. And I hope the fans have a better understanding of what goes into producing a line like Micro Galaxy, because I'm sure a lot of the experiences you guys go through can be applied to a lot of the other brands in Star Wars as well. Because from what I understand, Lucasfilm has very similar operations with working with their different brands, and everybody's pretty much said the same thing. Yeah, they're wonderful to work with. They're very accommodating, and that's also pretty much been my experience with working with Lucasfilm also. So yeah,
Awesome.
great. So
Yeah, it was a blast. We love, as Max and I have said multiple times, we're fans first. We love talking Star Wars. We
We're
love
hashtag living our best Star Wars
Yeah,
life.
hashtag living our best Star Wars life right now, better than ever. And communicating with the fans and being able to connect like this is, that's the real joy of the whole gig.
It's why we do what we do.
mm,
I like that refrain. I think we should keep using that. It's hashtag living our best Star Wars life, and then
I like that.
also you're the reason we do what we do.
It's true.
Well, I gotta say, you guys have been doing a fantastic job so far. The Micro Galaxy line has been amazing from the start. I truly can't wait to see where it goes from there, because collecting it has been an absolute blast. I mean, I like to think that you guys have actually watched our reviews on the Micro Galaxy
I
Squadron
have.
vehicles, and like hopefully, I've done a good job at presenting your product for you guys. And like I said, I just can't wait to get that next ship, because so far it's been awesome. I mean, I'm definitely itching for the new shuttle and the AT-AT and the Death Star, the destruction of the Death Star pack, and the Coruscant pack. I'm really excited about the Coruscant pack because we're getting Vulture droids finally. More Rogers, a million more Rogers. I need more battle droids.
Please, yeah. I mean, that's still available on Target.com if I remember correctly.
So there you go. So if you're watching this right now, make sure you check, Target, and what was the other
It's
one? Walmart,
well,
right?
yeah. Target has the exclusive of the Battle of Coruscant, and as of last check yesterday, it's 83% sold out. So
Oh, okay.
keep keep on trucking with that.
Now,
It's still available right now.
Okay. Well, there you go. There's your final warning. If it's depending on when this goes up, but sure you check Target for availability on that pack and the other pre-orders available for upcoming Micro Galaxy Squadron.
May the
Greatness.
force be with you. Thank you so much for having us, Bobby. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, everybody else, for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe. Follow us on social media. Check Jazwares out, guys. If you haven't checked out Jazwares, if you haven't started checking out the Micro Galaxy, if you just keep walking by in your toy aisle going, what are those small ships? Those kind of look like Micro Machines. Trust me, they are way better than anything Micro Machines ever produced for Star Wars. Micro Galaxy is the micro line for you. So make sure you pick it up and start collecting it, because it's just super awesome. We'll see you guys later. We'll see you another time. May the force be with all of you. You rebel scum.